Hello and welcome back to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has called for a renewed effort to bring peace to Ukraine, adding that he and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy had both agreed in recent talks on the need for a new peace conference that would include Russia. This follows a Ukraine-organised peace conference in June, which hosted delegations from 92 countries in Switzerland to advance its blueprint for peace. The difference then was that Russia was not invited to participate. To explore the motivations behind this move and what we can expect from such talks, I am delighted to welcome Mr. Marcin Zaborowski, he's Policy Director, Future of Security Programme at GlobeSec. Mr. Zaborowski, welcome to TP World, and thank you for taking the time.
Well, good evening for having me, and it's great talking to you.
Great, thank you. So what do you, let's start with the big picture. What do you make of this? Why now, and what's behind it?
I think there are two fundamental reasons. There is a reason number one. It's there was a recognition that there is a need to have some kind of a peace talk which would be more inclusive. And clearly, the peace talks, the so-called peace talks in Switzerland, did not really deliver any results. The declaration which came out of a conference in Switzerland was not endorsed by some of the participating states, including large important states like Saudi Arabia or India or Brazil. None of these states really signed up to the declaration. China did not participate. Russia was not invited. So what was the intention of the conference in Switzerland was to isolate Russia, and that didn't work out. So now this attempt is to actually have a talk which, maybe there is a hope to have some kind of a compromise under the current conditions. So that's a kind of a context. But the other immediate reason, and why this is Germany, which is so involved in it, is that Germany has domestic problem now with the anti-war parties, the so-called anti-war parties, meaning the parties which are against German support for Ukraine, which is the far-right AfD and far-left BWS. These parties have performed extremely well in the elections in East Germany, in the former GDR. So it looks like that from the German point of view, from the point of view of the Chancellor, he must make some kind of effort to appease those who are against, continuing engagement on the side of Ukraine.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you mention the German domestic political scene. In fact, we have a short soundbite where Chancellor Scholz actually refers to that. Hopefully, we'll be able to get that up now. All right, it seems to be a bit of... here we go. There we go.
I believe that now is the time to discuss how we can get out of this war situation and achieve peace more quickly than it currently seems. And that is right. It is important that we make progress. There will definitely be another peace conference, and the President and I agree that it must include Russia.
Yes, also in that interview he said, he did hint at domestic pressures on him. What does he see? Let's assume that he is instrumental in getting peace talks which are accepted by all sides and so on. How would he see that influencing or affecting his political position at home?
Well, his political position at home is very tenuous. His party, the Social Democrats, have performed very weakly in the election in the Eastern Länder, meaning in the former GDR. And it's clear to everyone that his coalition is just barely hanging on. and that's a coalition of the Social Democrats, the Green Party, and FDP. None of these parties are popular at this point in time. And the opposition, Christian Democrats, are gaining in support, but also radical left and radical right are gaining on.
Right.
So there is a need on the part of the Chancellor to seize the initiative, not just on this issue, but this is one of the most divisive issues in Germany itself.
Right, and of course, Germany has come under some criticism over the years in terms of its supply of weaponry to Ukraine. But let's look at it now from President Zelensky's viewpoint. Ukraine. I mean, why is President Zelensky doing this now? Because he's putting the peace plan together. He expects it to be ready by November. Why now?
Well, I personally, I really think this is just a move. I mean, I would not give too much credence really to that to that initiative at this point in time. I think that President Zelensky just wants to endorse the idea of being forthcoming and show that Russia will not be excluded. And he needs that because the support in the West is going down. What we see we already discussed this situation in Germany, but also in other countries in Western Europe, support for the continuing supply of aid, military aid, and as such to Ukraine is going down. And we also have American election around the corner, which may be won by Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has already said that, if he wins the election, he would stop the support for Ukraine. It's not clear that, that he will really deliver what he's saying he will be delivered, but what he's saying at this point in time, yes, that support will go down. And as you look into opinion polls in the United States, as well as the atmosphere in the American Congress, there is some fatigue regarding the continuing support to Ukraine at the current level. So Zelensky has managed to do two things. Number one, the offensive in Kursk has been fairly successful, so he has some argument here. He can tell the Russians that look, I mean, you want the parts of your territory, you will not get back your part of your territory if you continue fighting. So he has some argument here, as well as he can say, look, I mean, I'm in favor of having Russia engaged in the conference. Now, if Russians say that we don't want to come, that's going to look like that they are obstructionist. And the Indians, the Chinese, the Brazilians, all those who continue to endorse Russia will say, well, look, I mean, we want you to respond to that plea.
You're right. Well, I mean, Putin has said, we're ready for peace talks. They've said it a number of times over the last 2 years, but they haven't been very specific about what they're looking for, other than once saying that the world has to accept the reality, by which he meant the occupied areas of Ukraine are going to remain occupied. Now, clearly, this is it seems to be anyway a non-negotiable for Putin. Do you think that this is simply a way of making sure that no peace talks are ever concluded positively for Ukraine?
Well, Ukraine has some arguments at its corner, but not very strong one. One of his arguments is the successful offensive in the Kursk region and having the Kursk part of Russia under its control. But it's a very tiny piece of Russia, really, and it's not nearly comparable to the grab land that Russia secured for itself in Ukraine. And also the strategic importance of the grab land especially in the south of Ukraine. So there is some argument here, but it's not very powerful. But I think a diplomatic argument would be meaningful. Russia really is dependent on the supply of resources, and especially supply of really money. In exchange for its energy being sold to India, Brazil, China, and other countries in the so-called third world, or further parts of the non-Western part of the world. And so far, Russia has been successful in selling to these countries that war is somehow a war against the West, and this is actually a defense against the West. And some people in India and China are buying it, really. So it's very important that Vladimir Zelensky says, will call a bluff. He will say, I'm open to talk to Russia. I want to talk to them. Why not? But it has to happen in Ukraine. That I understand is one of the conditions. And number two, that he probably does not want to have a preconditions of the kind that negotiations cannot start with Russia saying that the territories that it occupies in the south and east of Ukraine are to become part of Russia, and that's and only then they can talk, because then there is nothing to talk about, really.
Right. Now, Trump has said on many occasions that had he been in power, this wouldn't have happened, and also that he would resolve the situation in a day. Now, putting aside President Trump's proclivity for exaggeration and so on, but is there something to that concerns Putin? Is he concerned that should Trump get into power, there will be even more serious consequences for Putin, than he's facing now?
It's unpredictable, because Trump has demonstrated for these 4 years when he was in power that he cannot really be fully predicted, and we don't really know what he's going to do. People are saying that what Trump would do is to immediately would stop the supply of military aid to Ukraine, and will tell Russia to back off, because Ukraine will no longer be able to defend itself, really. And he would expect that Vladimir Putin would just buy that, and we all know that it's not going to work like that. But we also know that when Trump was in power between 2016 and 2020, he on occasion he was harsh on Russia. He did impose certain sanctions on Russia, which the former administrations did not impose, and he actually strengthened the American presence in Poland and in the Baltic states. There has been more troops coming to Poland and the Baltic states under the Trump administration, not before and not after it, really. After it too, under the administration of Joe Biden. So it could be that Trump could say, if Vladimir Putin is not really buying my offer, then I will supply Ukraine with stronger and more powerful weapons, such as the long-range missiles and more F-16s. So who knows? I mean, we are not sure what exactly Donald Trump will do.
No, but how much influence do you think this is going to have on Putin's perspective towards these peace talks? This unpredictability.
Yes, I mean, it really depends on who is in the White House at this point in time. I think the Democrats are kind of predictable. If it's Democrats, then everybody knows that they would continue their support for Ukraine, but they will fear escalation. So it will be kind of a support, but with caveats. If it's Donald Trump, he could completely stop providing Ukraine with weapons, but equally possible it is that he will actually provide Ukraine with more powerful and more weapons.
Right. So. Understood, Ms. Zaborowski. Unfortunately, we're going to have to end it there, but thank you very much for sharing your expertise with our audience. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all from us on this episode of World Talks. Don't go away. As always, lots more coming up. Goodbye.